Hi, everyone. It's A Ticket to Christ. We're focused on the series, Just Come to Jesus, You Yourself. And we're in John chapter 5. I encourage you to read the whole chapter on your own. We're going to pick up again at verse 44, and then we're going to read through to chapter 6, ending in verse 15. So it says, "How can ye believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that cometh from God only? Do not think I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had ye believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But ye believe not his writings. How shall ye believe my words?" And just to insert here, this is a continuation of when Jesus healed that man at the pool. And the man went and he told the religious people, and they were angry because Jesus did it on a Sabbath. And they wanted to kill him, and they were like accusing him. They were very angry. And so Jesus went on to basically correct them I think offer them a mild rebuke. You see the difference in how Jesus deals with religious people who are dogmatic, but they have rejected God. They don't know the Father because they haven't received the Son. The words of God isn't in them. And so he basically is explaining to them the relationship, how he and the Father operate, and he's also showing that the Father is he's doing what the Father says to do. Everything the Father says to do, he's doing it. That the oneness of them. Then that's what he's revealing to them. And after he said all of that, he kind of gives a bottom line. You're not going to believe because you're not seeking the honor from God. You're seeking honor from one another. So their priorities are off, and their hearts aren't centered on the will of God. And when you read all that's in chapter 5, you see Jesus's heart is very centered on the will of the Father being done. So much so he doesn't do anything except he sees the Father doing it. So he waits on the Father. And then we're going to pick up in chapter 6. It says, "After these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great multitude followed him because they saw his miracles, which he did on them that were diseased. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, feast of the Jews, was nigh. And Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him. He saith unto Philip, When shall we buy bread that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, saith unto him, There is a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? And Jesus said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples. Distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore they gathered them together, and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. Then those men which they had seen the miracle that Jesus did said, This is of a truth, that prophet that should come into the world. When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him king, he departed again into a mountain, himself alone." So Jesus did not accept that crown before the cross. He ran from the crown before the cross. He was going to make it to the cross. That was the will of the Father. So he fled. Verse 15, moved himself from that. But what is jumping out at you here? What are you seeing and understanding about Jesus? For me, what I'm seeing here is that he did the same miracle that was done through Moses in the wilderness, where manna came down from heaven. That's why they're saying that is that prophet, verse 14. That's the one Moses told us about, the prophet of prophets that we need to listen to, because that would be the Messiah, right? That would be the one Jesus is sending to redeem them, to redeem that nation, to redeem that people and the whole world, right? And so that's why they're saying we're going to make him king, because they're like, this is it. They rightly understood who he was. But of course, a lot of times God moves in mysterious ways. That's why don't lean on your own understanding. You have to just do how Jesus did it, looking at waiting for the Father, being very careful to understand what the Father is saying. What is it the will of God is for a particular situation? What is it, praying for discernment and doing things the way God said to do it, right? We see as well here just the compassion of the Lord. These people, a lot of people there, and they were, listening to him and listening to his message. But he did not. There are a lot of people today, you go to these big gatherings, you listen to their message, they're not thinking through about things like, okay, providing for these people. Jesus already thought of that, it said. Jesus knew, right? He knew what he was going to do. Verse 6, he says he did this to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. So he knew, okay, I'm going to make provision, right, for these people. By his faith, he multiplied just a little bit of food and fed thousands of people. That's an incredible miracle. Of course, the Spirit in Jesus without measure, right? And that was, it was apparently very tasty too, because you see that they were trying to follow Jesus after that same crowd. They were like, we're not going to, and Jesus had to tell them, look, you're coming after me because of the food, right? It's not because of the miracles. But what an incredible thing. So from this, I see the compassion of Jesus, that he's not just about to come bring a lecture or a lot of words. I see the heart of God behind his commandments. It's not just, okay, I'm going to give you a commandment. I'm going to say, don't do this, don't do that. But he does it with compassion, with mercy, and out of love for us. And every commandment, everything that God says to do or not to do, it's from that position of love, of care, of what's going to be best for us, what's going to support us, and what's going to supply us with what we need. So that's what I get from that. That's a big takeaway from this passage. That is it for me today. We'll pick it up again tomorrow. Have a great day.